He was born Domenikos Theotokopoulos, but the world knows him by a simpler name, El Greco, the Greek. A painter who crossed cultures and centuries, he fused Byzantine icon tradition, Venetian color, and the dramatic elongated forms of late Italian Mannerism into an unmistakable spiritual idiom. Look closely and you'll see sky and stone that breathe, saints whose bodies stretch toward heaven, and faces that seem both ancient and utterly modern. From the roaring crowd and celestial host in the burial of the Count of Orgaz to the raw, red-cloaked Christ in the Disrobing of Christ, from the brooding skyline of view of Toledo to intimate, searching portraits of cardinals and scholars, his work feels like a bridge between worlds. El Greco painted faith as vision and emotion as structure, and in doing so, he left images that continue to unsettle and enchant. If you want to understand a painter who reinvented religious painting for his age and anticipated later modern sensibilities, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating more educational videos like this one. The story begins in 1541 on the island of Crete, then part of the Venetian realm, where Domenikos trained in the icon painting traditions of the Orthodox Church. That early Byzantine discipline, flattened space, luminous faces, and emphasis on spiritual presence never fully left him. In his 20s, he traveled to Venice and Rome, where he absorbed Titian's color and Tintoretto's energy. Those Italian years are visible when we compare the introspective old man in what may be a self-portrait to El Greco's later mature faces. The Mediterranean light, the palette of deep reds and verdant greens, and a willingness to distort anatomy for expressive ends. Portraits like the Metropolitan's Portrait of an Old Man and copies catalogued as his likeness show both craft and confidence. A painter now fluent in several pictorial languages, ready to make them speak together. By the mid-1570s, El Greco had settled in Toledo, Spain, a city that would become his artistic laboratory. Toledo's dramatic skyline and steep hills fed his imagination. Witness the brooding, almost supernatural atmosphere of View of Toledo. There he turned landscape into mood and cityscape into allegory, bending geography to the needs of expression. In Toledo, he found commissions from churches, confraternities, and noble patrons. The city's religious intensity suited his temperament. His paintings were at once devotional objects and visionary experiences. Works executed for local institutions, altarpieces, processional scenes, and portraits show a painter engaged with both public rituals and intimate faith. If one work crowns his Spanish career, it's the burial of the Count of Orgaz. Painted for the Church of Santo Tomé in Toledo, this masterpiece fuses miraculous narrative with portrait realism. The lower register shows the miraculous descent of saints who place the corpse in the tomb, rendered with astonishing presence and detail, while the upper register dissolves into a shimmering spiritual realm where saints and angels assemble. El Greco organizes the canvas not by naturalistic perspective, but by vertical spiritual ascent. The viewers below, the miracle in the middle, and heavenly vision above. He included contemporary portraits of Toledo's citizens amid the sacred drama, turning the painting into both a communal memorial and a theological assertion. Look at the faces and garments. There's individual psychology alongside mystical geometry, a rare combination in late 16th century Spain. Another Toledo commission, the Disrobing of Christ, El Espolio, stands in contrast. Here the drama is immediate and theatrical. Christ, stripped of his garments, is surrounded by a crowded, muscular throng. The painting hangs in Toledo Cathedral, and its composition is almost frieze-like, built around a luminous central Christ draped in red. El Greco's use of color is deliberate and symbolic. Saturated crimson, stark highlights, and compressed space heighten the emotional intensity. Scholars have argued about the piece's sources, whether it borrows from Michelangelo's muscularity or from Spanish devotional practice, but the final effect is unmistakably El Greco, an image that turns suffering into glorified spectacle. Alongside altarpieces, El Greco produced portraits that are equally striking. The famous portrait of a cardinal, likely Fernando Niño de Guevara, presents psychological intensity rather than flattering likeness. The sitter's rigid posture, sharp eyes, and a luminous face floating against a dark background show a painter uninterested in mere status display. Instead, he zeroes in on character and interiority. Other portraits of nobles, clergymen, and scholars follow similar rules: simplified backgrounds, focused light, and a sense that the figure is more revelation than representation. A handful of copies and workshop versions complicate attribution, but the originals reveal a fresh portrait language for Spanish elites of the time. What makes El Greco so immediately recognizable? First, his figures. Elongated, sometimes gymnastically stretched, as if the body were straining toward the divine. Second, his color palette. Acidic greens, scorched umbers, and luminous reds that detach form from mere description and make paint an emotional force. Third, his brushwork and space. He often flattened depth, collapsed perspective, and used flickering highlights to animate surfaces. Taken together, these traits create a pictorial rhetoric of transcendence. Bodies meant less to be anatomically accurate than to point upward. Critics have labeled him a mannerist, a visionary, even a precursor of expressionism and cubism. Those labels are attempts to place El Greco in later taxonomies. He remains stubbornly original, a craftsman of spiritual sensation. El Greco ran a busy workshop in Toledo, producing versions, replicas, and collaborative pieces. He signed some works with his Greek name, Domenikos Theotokopoulos, a reminder of his island origins. That double identity, Byzantine icon painter who became a Spanish master, enriched his art. Workshop replicas help explain why so many similar compositions survive. Altarpieces needed multiple panels, patrons requested copies, and pupils learned by imitation. Yet distinct brushstrokes and daring compositional choices often reveal the master's hand. Self-portraits and portraits of learned men suggest a painter aware of his own persona, cosmopolitan, literate, and certain of his vocation. A few curiosities. El Greco's view of Toledo has been called one of the first truly Spanish landscapes because it treats place as mood more than topography. His use of unusual color combinations led some contemporaries to call his work eccentric. Centuries later, modern artists like Picasso and Cézanne would point to El Greco as a kind of spiritual ancestor. Picasso especially admired the expressive elongation of form. And in popular culture, his art still pops up in unexpected places, from album covers to film references, a testament to its enduring, uncanny power. When El Greco died in 1614, his reputation slipped for a time. His Mannerist flamboyance was out of step with Baroque tastes. Yet the 19th and 20th centuries revived interest, and today we view him as a key figure in Spanish art history and a bridge to modernism. His fusion of devotional purpose with painterly invention opened paths for artists to think of painting as a language of feeling rather than mere imitation. Museums in Madrid, Toledo, New York, and beyond preserve his greatest canvases and continue to tease out authorship, dating, and meaning. El Greco's singular voice reminds us that art can transform the visible world into an image of the unseen. So what should we take away? El Greco stands at an intersection: Greek and Venetian training, Italian Mannerism and Spanish spirituality, portrait exactitude, and visionary distortion. His paintings are not mere relics, they are visual arguments about how to see the sacred and how to make emotion visible. Whether it's the communal miracle of the burial of the Count of Orgaz, the concentrated suffering of the Disrobing of Christ, the atmospheric view of Toledo, or the penetrating gaze of his portraits, El Greco invites us to look deeper. He teaches that painting can be prophecy, memory, and revolt at once. If his images feel strange now, that strangeness is their gift, a reminder that art can still surprise us centuries later. If you enjoyed this journey through his life and work, leave a comment telling us which painting moved you most.